Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is David Salerno. And I'm so happy that he said yes to our interview. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Caroline. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. I'm honored and thrilled, of course, and I would like to introduce you to the audience. So, you hit a wall a couple of years into building your company SoulPack, working around the clock, unable to trust the business to run without you, and convinced that founder freedom was a myth. You then reverse engineered a method to transform SoulPack from a handful of clients into a 600 plus client double digit growth business while cutting your own hours down from insane to just a few per week. A journey you now share as founder of Entrepreneur Sherpa Co. and author of Build for Freedom. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. Wow, David Salerno.
Hey,
I
thank you,
love it.
Caroline. Nice intro. I like it.
Yeah, this is you. Did you
Yes.
recognize yourself in it a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. It's like a few seconds to describe 20 years of hard and eventually smart work. So it's funny to think that all of this is in
Yeah.
one little
Two
20-second capsule.
sentences.
That's right, exactly.
Yes. Okay, we would like to know more about you, of course. My first question for you is you were told by more experienced entrepreneurs that being trapped 24/7 was just normal. What made you push back on that instead of accepting it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So so I was in the corporate world. I was doing well, and then I realized I had all kinds of ideas of how we could run the business better wherever I was. Right. So I realized that being my own boss was my initial impulse. Like, let me start my own thing, um, and I'll be able to make all the right decisions, and everything will be just perfect. So, unfortunately, that's not how it turned out. So, in short, I I realized that when my fellow entrepreneurs would say, "No, it's normal, that's part of the business, that's how it is," I was like, "No, this can't be. This just can't be. There's got to be a way where you can design your own business with intention, and make it work, so it's not a trap." Because I didn't accept that reality.
Ah, that sounds good. You talked about intentions. Yes, this is a question I ask later on normally, but we can do this now. Do you set goals for yourself or intentions? And what is one of your next projects?
Yeah, sure. So intention for me is something that I actually strongly believe in. I think you've mentioned or talked about manifestation and different ways of talking about intention or manifestation, and I strongly believe in this. You begin with the end of mind. So that's how I decided to begin that journey of freedom, entrepreneurial freedom. My next project is just to get that idea with a suggested framework in as many hands as possible for entrepreneurs to be able to accomplish the same and live the same.
Wow, I'm impressed. And let's start with me. So I'm
Yes.
inspired already. Thank you so much again for being my guest. My next question for you is walk us through what actually changed operationally at Soulpack that let you go from working insane hours to just a few per week. What was the first domino to fall?
Yes, a great question. So I think as entrepreneur, we don't have an effort problem. We have a clarity problem. So it's when I figured out I needed to think before acting and not just throw myself at work and reacting at everything happening in the business, and stop and have clarity. What did I need to work on first? Focus on that, and then, as you mentioned it's a domino effect, and then work on the rest. So that's really what happened, was to stop and think, okay, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do this, if I want to have the reward of freedom and success with this business.
Yes, I see. So clarity and focus, two of my favorite words you mentioned. So instead of diving into action, you step back and observe first and decide what to prioritize.
That's right. So in those moments of of the fog of war, as they call it, and you have your hands like this, holding your head, thinking, how am I going to get through this day as an entrepreneur? The thing that we live often. I just stopped and I was like, wait. And I pulled out a piece of paper basically and I started saying, okay, wait a minute. What's my biggest problem right now? What do I need to figure out? And back in the days, it was growth because I needed to be able to replace my super cushy corporate salary. That was the first thing I needed to do. And because of the stress of finances, home, and all that jazz, that was my first thing. So that's how I started to get the ball rolling, really focus one problem or challenge at a time.
Wow, I love that. Also, the thing with writing it down, writing your objectives or what to do next.
That's right. It's a bit like electricity, right? If you keep it all in your head, it's electricity is just bouncing around and there's no current, no ground. You're not grounded basically. So for me, at least, writing down was the best way. And sometimes it wasn't that much more than what I was thinking, but reading at it made it an object that I could work on. It wasn't, when they say work on your business, well, work on your mindset. You have to look at it. So writing down to me was the best way of doing this clarity and focus thing.
Yes, absolutely. Working on the business instead of in the business.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Before you
when
do
you talked
that,
about,
yeah, I was going to tell
yes,
you, Caroline, before you do work on the business, you got to work on your mind because usually it starts here before the business. So, yeah, absolutely.
that's even more important. Thank you so much for mentioning it. And when you talked about electricity, I thought about giving giving direction to your energy or your flow. How about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. It's funny because always believed that the laws of nature and physics and whatnot are applicable also in the I don't want to say ethereal world, but maybe I want to say that the law of human nature. So to me, a flow of idea that is stuck without being grounded and whatnot is the same thing as electricity. I don't claim to be that knowledgeable in physics and electricity, but I feel like there's a metaphor there.
Hmm. The metaphor can be you don't have to know how it works, only that it works. So when you turn the switch, you know that the light is going on
That's
or
right. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
something.
Something like that.
But you have
Absolutely.
to know that there's a switch and
You
it's
have to find
possible.
it. And if you're in
Yeah,
the dark, it's a little harder, Caroline, right?
yeah, that's true. I have this every morning, by the way, when I try to find
Go,
the
there you
way
go.
out, the exit to from my apartment. But I want to know about your morning. No, really, it's real. The struggle is real, but not anymore because I talked to you. And I would like to know more about your morning routines because you talked about writing it down. Maybe you have other tips how an entrepreneur can start the day.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So at some point, and I do it in I like variety, and I suspect most of your entrepreneur audience likes variety. So, to be fair, it's not like I follow the same schedule, and that's why I have freedom. It's a bit messy, it's a bit chaotic, but at the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning, usually I wake up early, 5:30, 5:45. Naturally, no alarm. For 20 years plus, but I basically kind of think, okay, what do I have on the agenda like today, but most importantly, what is it that I need to accomplish? What did I set? So I'll have goals obviously for the year, and I'll have kind of targets for the week, for the month. So I'll kind of scan this throughout the day, but starting my mornings really starting early, um, a cup of coffee. I'm an espresso guy, and then just diving in basically.
Oh, that sounds good. Thank you so much. Yes, we talk about the early bird, or it's important to wake up early. There's also this famous book, The 5 a.m. Club,
Mm,
Robin Sharma, of course. Yeah, my next question for you. A lot of founders believe clients and partners need direct access to them personally to feel secure. How did you rebuild that trust without being the one always in the room?
yeah, that's a great question, and it was a struggle. Quite frankly, the suffering in feeling that the business that I founded and helped grow, while I was constantly being called upon by clients and whatnot. was high enough that I decided to take chances. So taking chances is the first answer. Taking chances to trust your team, taking chances to trust what you've put in place will work regardless if you're here or not. Taking chances that maybe somebody else in the team will actually do a better job than you. Because when we're in the fog of war and whatnot, we're not always the best person to actually answer the question, although we think we care more or the most. So, yeah, I'd say people and good systems to support you, and leap of faith to let other people handle these calls.
Yes, absolutely. And when you talk, I like this expression, taking chances. What is the difference between, it's not my mother language,
Mm.
English, so I can ask about what's the difference? Why didn't you say, I try it out or I try it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So English is also my second language. So and my kids make always make fun of me when I use French expressions as English. But I said taking chances because it's kind of a gamble at first when you're like, okay, I'm not gonna take these calls, and I'm gonna ask the client to call. I don't know, Sylvie. Back in the days, it was Sylvie. I was like, Sylvie is the best to help you with orders. Back in the days, we would take order from clients, and they would call me because they trusted me. I sold them a system or whatnot. That's 20 years ago. So taking a chance is kind of saying that it's kind of a gamble. It feels like a gamble. Often it's really not, but it feels like a gamble. So that's why I call it like that.
Yes, it's stronger than just try. We know this from Yoda, or try or don't or something, just do it, or I don't know in
There is
English.
no try, there's do or do
Yeah,
not.
there's,
Correct. I've one of my favorite
yeah.
expression actually. That's funny.
Exactly. Thank you so much for helping me out with the language thing. We had this before we started recording. And of course, I have another question for you. For an entrepreneur listening to this who feels trapped in their own business right now, what's the first tool set shift from build for freedom they should actually start with?
Yeah, I'm really gonna say that clarity reduces effort more than motivation ever will. So take the time to think, what is it that I need to solve that will make this problem I have in front of me not happen recurringly? Whether it's a sales issue, whether it's problems with orders, or a team member that somehow is not fitting, take the time to really focus, have clarity, focus, and set it and forget it. So that's really what you need to do. And it's not like a haha moment and you're a genius in setting yourself free from the business. It's really a process.
Oh, I like this very much. I have to re-listen to this episode again.
You're so
There were
kind.
so many nuggets. Yes, and I think I have one last question for you. Yes, this is the Inspired Choice podcast, of course. And in the beginning, I always ask my guests, what inspires you?
You know what? When I was younger and starting the business, large organizations that still had a human approach was what was inspiring me from a business perspective. I was like, if these guys, let's say Apple, back in the days, Apple stores were being built and all that jazz. To me, that was inspiring from a management perspective. I was like, they figured out something. Steve Jobs is not running, answering all the calls. What did they do? So that was one part of inspiration. And if not, I had my usual go-to. It's funny because I saw Napoleon Hill as being part of what you've talked about and been involved with. And that book, Think and Grow Rich, was really transformational for me when I was younger. Tony Robbins was another one when I was 18 and starting in life. So any entrepreneur that has some framework or way of looking at the world that is inspiring inspires me.
Yes, absolutely. I can agree to that. I'm also always inspired by listening to success stories
Mm,
or biographies.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's everywhere.
It's happening just right now in front of your eyes. Thank you for our interview. And of course, I would like to know when people want to reach out to you after listening to this episode, where can we find you?
Sure. So I have a website under my name, so davidsalerno.com. So that's DAVIDSALERNO.com. Actually, I have a free chapter for your audience for the book Built for Freedom. So if they just want to pop in my website, and I also hang out on LinkedIn, so feel free to contact me on LinkedIn as well. That's where I communicate with the world, the business world at least.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Yes, of course. Please connect to David. He's amazing. We just listened to this episode. I'm inspired, of course. Thank you. Now it's time for your final thoughts to the audience, please.
Well, Caroline, thank you for having had me on your podcast. Thank you for your generous words. I just say, in the middle of the fog of war, like I said, it's doable. Other peoples have done it. Just take a step back. Think about what is it that you want to achieve. Keep the eyes on the prize, but clarity is key. And with the right focus, you'll get to business freedom for sure.
Wow, I love that. Business freedom. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
A pleasure, Caroline. Have a good one. Thank you for having me again.
You too, and I see you in the next episode.